Alright, so today is not just any other day. Today is the day that we start this incredible journey from what was a meek and mild 500 horsepower supercharged street truck to what will become a meek and mild 700 horsepower turbocharged street truck. That's right, we're finally getting back to work on Goldie Hawn. I know a lot of you guys have been like, when are we going to get back to work on it? Where's the truck? What's going on with it? Truth be told, the truck has just been sitting outside the garage right here where the Jeep is for the past, I don't know how many months, like 2 or 3 or 4, however long. And it's just been sitting there while I've been gathering parts. Right now I have hopefully a complete turbo kit sitting in the back of that Jeep. Just needs to be put together, a little bit of fabrication, things like that. But the actual turbo install of the truck is not going to be in this video, it'll be in the next one. Today we're just focusing on the actual engine part of it, as far as like the cam swap and springs and stuff like that. I think we're going to have to split it into kind of like 2 parts. The first one, this one, will just be putting the new cam in, valve springs, things like that, and then in the next one we should be able to get most of the turbo kit together. And here's kind of a quick little teaser that we mocked up yesterday to kind of see where everything's going to sit. We're going to have to move a few things. Might end up just deleting the air conditioning for now, or at least taking the hoses off. Not really sure on that just yet. And then we have to move the coolant reservoir, this old air box, and hopefully it all should come apart somewhat easily. So to start, we're gonna unplug most of the wiring to the engine, or at least the top end of the engine, pull the intake off. The heads are gonna come off, water pump, crank pulley, and then the front timing cover, retainer plate, cam out, cam in, put it all back together with the new shit.
Do you remember the spring thing?
Yep, I got that, and the crank pulley puller.
Oh.
Alright, well, we can only drag our feet so much. I think it's time to start ripping this thing apart and start reviving Goldie Hawn. Just about at the point to pull the crank pulley off and then the main timing cover off and start pulling the cam out. You don't have to pull the heads off to cam swap this. If you go back to the first time we put a cam in this, we left the heads on. You just put a dowel rod in each of the lifter valley and that'll hold those up after you spin the cam over a couple times. But I'm just pulling these heads off because these have springs that'll work with this cam, and this cam's going to end up going in that S10 that you've seen in the background of a few videos. Whenever I get around to that, these heads and that cam are going to go in that. And the cam that we're putting in this is a Texas Speed cam with a custom grind. I'm calling it the Turbo Potato cam because that makes me laugh and it sounds funny. And this thing should be gnarly. Justin Baker and the guys at Texas Speed spec this out for basically exactly what this is. A give or take 4,500 pound truck, 5.3 BorgWarner S475, and we want it to spool super quick and super hard. So here's the specs if it focuses. You can see 226, 230, 600, 112.5 plus 3. So this thing should be pretty gnarly. And unfortunately it says Snydertron 4000 instead of Turbo Potato because we didn't think of the name until after it was already shipped out. And then along with that we've got some chromoly push rods and the Piece de la Resistance, Texas Speed's dual spring kit, and new seals and titanium retainers. So those are all going to go on wherever those other heads are. On those heads, and those are still just stock H62s. You can see right there, these are the stock heads that came with the truck. And as far as I know, this is the stock motor, stock heads, everything, 200, almost 50,000 miles. And the last like 10,000 have been pretty hard on it. So for anybody who's like, oh, my truck has like 180,000 miles, is it gonna be okay? Most of the time, yes. Disassembly lube. I'll just use this. Alright, we got the old cam out. It looks dang good. Normal wear, I'd say. But yeah, I think it's fine. I'm gonna throw it in the S10 before you ask. No, it is not for sale. I'm gonna be reusing it because I'm poor and I already paid for that. So, going to start throwing the new cam in. Got some assembly lube that I'm going to regret using after I spend the next like 20 minutes washing my hands with it. Alright, so it's the next day, merch available, first link down below. We got the bottom end of the motor all back together yesterday. I'm working on the heads now. We could have done this all in one day, but we're just kind of... First of all, the crank pulley fought us a lot because typically with LSs you use like a smaller 3-jaw pulley that I'm not going to be able to find right now. Typically you'll use a 3-jaw puller to grab these inner ones, and one of them broke right here, which I've never experienced before. So we fought with it a little while, ended up going and borrowing a larger 3-jaw puller to use these outer ones, and obviously we got it off. It was a little bit more of a fight than it should have been, so that took up a lot of time, and then I just didn't want to hang out here all through the night, so we decided let's call it a night. We'll pick it up again today, and that's what we're doing. So I got started on the heads yesterday. All I did was just strip this one down a little bit, pulled all the valves out, and I cleaned up one of them. You can see here, this is the one I cleaned up, and here's what this one did look like. So there was a lot of buildup. Again, these aren't the heads that were in the truck. Those ones are over there on the floor. So I guess that kind of doesn't really matter for this, but I am going to clean them up. I did use a little bit of valve grinding compound and tried to clean up this first one. I'm going to go through and do that for all these. But before I get into that and we start the time lapse for everything again, I wanted to show you guys some stock springs right here versus these TSP dual springs that I'm going to be running. So the difference of the gap between this coil and that coil, and then this one and that one, that's where you get your capabilities of running higher lift cams. And then obviously this is a much stronger and the engine back together. Now we're working on the intake right now, and we are putting this TBSS intake on it. I'm trying to reuse the fuel rails off the old intake, and it looks like they'll work. We'll just have to modify things a little bit, because we're gonna have to cut these off so that it can come in more, because you can see that side's in the rail, and this one needs 3/8 to about 3/8 of an inch, and then might just make a bracket here that bolts down to hold everything in place. But everything else looks like it's going to work. We can reuse the snake eater injectors, which we're going to have to clean a little bit because the truck's been sitting for a while. When the time comes, we'll go over the process on how to clean the injectors and the fuel system and stuff like that, because that's something Brad asked me to do. But yeah, looks like everything's going to work. I was worried that there was going to be a height issue as far as the crossover was concerned, but it looks like everything's going to work out pretty well there, because it's not going to drop down that much more, and the injectors and the rails are sitting where they need to sit. Then this port up here, we're just going to plug that one off anyway, like it was on the old intake. Because otherwise there's going to have some cobbled together setup to use the stock lines.
Yeah, it looks like the water thing down there is gonna clear too. Every bit getting closer and closer.
She is a beaut.
Oh,
Yeah. This is just a basic eBay one, but it sure is pretty.
that sucker's gonna suck some air.
Oh, it's going to suck alright.
Yeah, that sucker's got a hell of an opening on it.
Yeah, this is the biggest one this intake will take without modifying the intake. Because you can fit like a, I think it's a 102, but you have to radius the
92 millimeter. Now we gotta pull the mounting bolts out of the other intake and throw in this one.
Yeah. You want to test fit the manifold and turbo one more time? So we can see where it's actually going to sit.
I think we ought to get the bolts and mount that thing down.
We should.
Yeah, we should. Well, because one, you get the turbo in here and then it's in the way of getting to it.
I'm just going to set it in there for a second.
Yeah, I know. I know. You just want to put the turbo on.
I do just want to put the turbo on.
No,
I just
you
want to be
don't.
able to visualize it done. So I can pretend that it's... I don't have to...
So you can sleep tonight with good dreams.
Yeah.
Boosted dreams. Better than what dreams?
That's a t-shirt right there. Boosted
No.
Dreams.
I like the one that says better being blown by twins.
Yeah.
Gotta get the twin turbos.
All right. There we go. Turbo truck. Got the center section pretty close to vertical.
Yeah.
Gonna rotate this housing a little bit more so that these are in line. I have an elbow. It says it was delivered today. So then we'll just have a straight piece of intercooler piping here. And then we'll just take the side that was over here, flip it around. Theoretically it should work. And then most likely, just gonna dump it right out the fender there.
Hell yeah.
We did have to move the coolant reservoir because it was...
We're gonna set it here.
Yeah, we'll probably just move it forward. That way we can use the stock deal still. It looks like a truck now.
Yeah.
But that is going to do it for today's video, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. We'll see you next time.